Hey, we love that umbrella guy. All right. Thank you.
I'm calling from Los Angeles, and I'm having a little problem under the name ThatUmbrellaGuy. I sent him my phone number at least 20 times in the chat and told him to call me. He ignored me. I'm a man. I filed the report. If you guys could take a look at it and give me a call back, I would love to hear what you guys can do to help us. We really need to kind of stop this guy at least until Monday. I told him to call me. I'm
Rolling up, I'm feeling fly, yeah, I'm so damn fresh. Got that platinum grill, bringing in the chest. Diamonds in my mouth, shining when I speak. That umbrella guy, flossing speaking geek. Ice on my teeth, I'm dripping so hard. Platinum grills, I'm the king of the boulevard. Throwing money in the club, making haters mad. I'm the baddest in the game, no one gets a pass. Ooh yeah. Crushing all these lines, yeah, I feel fly. Rolling on the dubs, that umbrella guy. Iced out pro on the boulevard. You ain't a comic gangster, don't be playing hard. Ice on my teeth, I'm flying so high. Dropping the bass, that umbrella guy. One grill to rule them all, one grill to bind them. Baby, I'm so iced out, gonna blind them. Rolling in town, I'm an army of one. Doing verbal walk-bys, blazing like the sun. Riding in my whip, crushing false accusers. Dropping off the bass on the real abusers. Yeah. Living life fast, no time for the slow. Justice on my mind, stacking up on that flow. Life in the fast lane, no time to blink. Ice on my teeth, watch it when I speak. Chillin' on my rhymes, never missing a beat. Ice on my teeth, yeah, I'm living that sweet. That umbrella guy, bringing the platinum heat. Crushing every hater, no time for defeat. Ooh yeah.
Ooh yeah, indeed. Hey there, folks. How's it going? Welcome to a Thursday edition with Megan. Plus, we have a guest tonight. That's right. We have Patty. How you doing, Patty?
I'm doing great.
Oh man, so much to talk about there. How you doing, Megan? By the way, too, you doing all right today?
I'm over here. I'm here. I'm hanging in there. How are you doing?
Oh, I've been having fun. Like right before I went live, the kids decided to prank me. So they were messing around. They had moved some stuff around, so I decided to prank them by telling them they had let one of our giant spiders loose.
Oh!
I was like, your prank has gone bad.
Did they fall for it?
Oh yes, indeed. I may have a couple of raiders tonight too, off and on. You know how that goes. Even with interviews, I try to stop it, but I have a feeling they will raid tonight.
That's okay.
Oh man. Yep. I mentioned it right off the bat.
And here it comes,
Yes.
right on cue. All right.
We run a professional outlet like
very
that.
professional.
Huh? Your what?
The lip gloss.
Yeah, in a few minutes I'll find it for you. I've got an interview right now. Can you?
I need the pill, but I want a pill that you.
Oh, okay.
But
Thank
I
you.
need my lip gloss right now.
Yeah, that's what she said. She said I need my lip gloss, and I think she said I need to freshen up so I can go poo. I think that's what she said. I was like, well, thank you.
Oh,
Okay.
kids, man. Thank you for that info.
Anyway, Patty, man, it has been a crazy last. I keep thinking it's been months, but it's only actually been about a week since all this madness broke out. How are you doing?
Well, I feel okay. It's pretty wild. I'm not going to lie. It's very wild.
Yeah, who would have thought? I've been looking at everything around here, and we'll go back and look at how this, really starts and everything. But the reaction has been kind of mental. Did you expect anything like this? After you decided to come out and talk about what happened and everything, did you expect crazy to come to you and come this hard?
I did not expect it to come this hard. I knew enough between the time that I made my voice known and that I made sure that I did what was right, which, go to the police and everything, that it would probably get a little ugly just because I've seen a little bit of that now. But well, I guess I'd call them bad people. They just like hit me hard so fast. But I don't have anything to hide though. So, I mean, the funniest thing was she's got all these warrants and I'm like, no, I've never even been handcuffed.
Oh, you've actually handled everything going on very well. People are asking, who's Patty? Okay.
Yeah, we
so,
forgot to give the rundown.
Yeah, let's
Oh.
give an intro here. Yeah. Megan, you want to do an intro? Actually,
Sure.
You want to
Patty
introduce her?
was minding her own business, was just trying to help a friend have a vacation in Florida, and invited Wes and his daughter to come and join her there, and let him take her around Florida, give him a free vacation, and let him stay in an extra room. And he wanted to go to Tubetown, so they went to Tubetown. Patty never heard of Tubetown. She doesn't know the channel. She doesn't watch What the Hales. She was just, helping out a friend, and she went with him. And that was the day that John Cook, by his own admission, pulled a gun out. Now, the only difference in the story is John says he never pointed it at them, but Patty and Wes both say that he pointed the gun at them. And Patty didn't want to talk to the police that day because, we went over that on my channel, she already had a run-in with crazy YouTubers 10 years ago, and she almost died. She almost died because of it. And she suffered a bunch of vandalism because of it. And so when she heard YouTube and connected to this situation, she panicked and decided not to give a statement to the police. But then she did give a statement to the police after that, and they have treated her witness statement as if it means nothing, and they have dropped the charges against John Cook anyway. Meanwhile, all of the hate channels are going after Patty and trying to dox her. And they did. They did dox her. They did. And we would appreciate if those of you in the chat, if you know Patty's last name, not to share it. And we aren't going to share it here because it's just really unnecessary. And it's really rude to do that to a victim of a crime, especially when you've been victimized by the Levy County DA as well.
Yeah, Patty. Can you tell us a little bit about, I guess, how that started? Like, how do you end up in Otter Creek?
Okay. Originally, that's not where I ended up at all. Before Wes even came down, I had already booked to go down for a vacation, and I went a little early to spend, kind of like some breathing time on my own before all of the teenagers came down that were coming for me because I have foster children and nieces and nephews, and they all want to be with Aunt Patty. So I came down and I had a little bit of a break before they got there. And Wes had asked if he could bring Jacelyn. And I had already told him, like, we had talked about it. Hey, I'm down here for, so many days before, and you might as well just come down and hang out and do your thing. I'm going to do my own thing. And then when they got there, I really was enjoying her and I wanted her to do something fun. So my suggestion on that day of the 3rd was, hey, let's go down to Ocala and take her to the splash park there and walk around and see some of the sights. And Wes was like, well, actually, we watch this YouTuber and they're not very far from where you're staying. So if we could go there, I think she'd really enjoy that because she'd, like to see that, Tubetown. And no idea. Never heard of Tubetown. Never heard of Otter Creek. Never heard of What the Hales. Never heard of anything. No clue. Okay, fine. No big deal. It was like maybe a 40-minute drive or so. It would have been that far for us to go to Ocala. So no big deal. I gave him the keys to my SUV, said, okay, here you go. You're driving. This is something you want to do and she wants to do. Let's just go do it. as we were driving over there, he very vaguely gave me a little more information about the main person was what the Hales, and they had this property in this town, Otter Creek, and then there was a little bit of a dispute. Did not give me any detail that made me feel like I had any reason to be afraid. Just a simple, there's been a dispute, the neighbors have moved, and it's just silly. So we went there. We got to, we found the sign that said turn this way to Tubetown. It was raining. We pulled up there. Him and his daughter got out and got the book and brought it back to the car, signed it. While they're doing that, she's looking around at the things at Tubetown. The rain starts to let up enough that they get back out. I get out with my little dog and I get right back in the car. And then, well, we all know what goes on from there. If you want me to go ahead and tell you, I'll tell y'all.
Well, you know, the first part of it sounds like things were actually going pretty well, to be honest. You know, nothing out of the ordinary, really.
Yeah.
Well,
That's exactly right.
I pulled up a picture for you, Tug, if you want to share it. It's the splash pad in Ocala, which looks like a way better option than being accosted by John Cook. I don't know about you, but I bet you're wishing that he had said okay to this, because this looks like a lot of fun.
Girl, that was exactly what I wanted. I pulled that same thing up. That is the same picture.
You're like, look at this great place with the splash pads and look at all the children having child appropriate fun. And he's like, no, let's go near a psychopath instead.
Well, to be fair about it, you know, after everything that happened, I would think rolling around in a sandpaper freaking playground would be more fun than that, just to be honest.
True.
I mean, just
True. Even one of those 1980s playgrounds where everything is metal and sharp and rusted would have been a better option, it seems.
Oh, man. I mean, so I've heard a little bit about your background, you know, YouTubers and stuff, and we'll get to that in a few minutes on there. But did anything with YouTubers or anything? I mean, where you're like, oh, YouTubers, have you been removed far enough from all of that insanity where you were like, yeah, not a big deal? Or were you already on the way? You know, you're like, oh, well, I guess I'm already in this.
So it hadn't really crossed my mind to that level because I still wasn't given enough information to feel like there would be concern. And the things that happened before, they were so long ago that I've been able to overcome them. And I thought my life was back to normal, but obviously that wasn't the plan.
Oh, man. I mean, just, you know, again, we'll mention the before, but man, when Megan talked about that, I was almost speechless through part of that. I mean, you've been through the ringer when it comes to not just YouTubers, but man, that's situations like this. Oh, when the word YouTuber comes up, I'm surprised you're not like, oh my God, YouTube, I gotta run. Yeah.
No more YouTubers.
Yeah. And I had, you know, I hadn't even thought of YouTube or really much of anything other than, you know, just one like Facebook or regular messages. So YouTube and Instagram and all that, none of that was anything that I was even interested in. And I had this channel back like 2013, and I just done a few little things of the kids. And then when that happened, it's been about 9.5 years now, then that's when I was like, nope, YouTube is not for me.
Well, it sounds like you use like my YouTube. I started out before, you know, I YouTubed. I think back in 2012, I just stored things here. You know, it's kind of like it was kind of like, hey, I'm going to store some videos with the kids and, you know, some odds and ends. It was just a place to put stuff so I didn't lose it. You know, it was before technology was easy there. So it sounds like you were going the same route.
And that's exactly what I was doing. And I know this sounds so silly, but I was in the same predicament then that I am now, that my friend had been watching that YouTuber that was from California. And yet again, here comes Patty. Never even heard of this guy, never watched his first video, didn't even know what he was about, thinking I'm getting into a fun family attraction. And I have a humongous building and nobody's renting it at this current time. Sure, I'll rent it to you. But to just be the landlord to that man and what happened after was wow.
Yeah, a lot of that. You know, it was fascinating to find that name connected. I didn't even put it together. You know, when the mention of the 35K again. Like I said, we'll get into all that, but that name when it came up, it didn't connect with me at first. You know, that stuff, it's been popping off in Tennessee. That's where I'm at. So, you know,
Yes.
when it registered, I was like, holy, you mean you had to deal with that guy? Oh, no. Oh.
I thought for sure you were going to immediately recognize it, Tug, and it took you a minute. And I was like, when is he going to figure it out? When's he going to figure it out?
It did. It took me a minute. I mean, that was like a bombshell to end bombshell. So we'll get there in just a minute. So you have everything's going smoothly, and then it isn't. So can you tell us about when things they don't go smoothly anymore? And
Yes. So when we had pulled up, the mailbox was on the left side. So Wes was driving and he pulled up to the mailbox at Tubetown, did all of that. And then once the rain had let up and I let my little dog out, they were kind of in the middle of the street, and his daughter had ran over to this box on the other side of the road. And Wes went down to get her, and then they walked back up. We heard nothing, saw nobody at this point. And
can I ask you on the blessing box? That's what the blessing box. Did you see that box? Like I've always tried to mentally picture it in real life, you know. So
that box is basically, that was where Jason had gone. I'm sorry, I didn't want to even put the child's name out, but it's already is, but still. Yeah. She had gone over there to check that, and it was basically just like this old grayish, kind of greenish box. And from what he and her both said, it was just really gross on the inside, and there wasn't actually anything in it other than just some trash.
Oh, God.
I see
I'm going to bless you with this trash.
Yeah, I'm going to bless you with hepatitis. That's the way I think. Like, no, I'm not going to touch it. Okay. Anyway, go ahead. I'm sorry. I had to ask about that box. You know,
I think I have a picture of it somewhere. I've had I don't remember where, but I have seen a picture of it.
Well, it didn't look like something. I mean, well, just simple. It just didn't look like something I would have walked up to, but I mean, she's 8, so
yeah, kids.
It was, you know, something she wanted to see.
Yeah.
But so they get back in the car, and I'm back in the car, and we drive on down the road, and we're get down to a point to where there's like this cell tower so that we can have a good spot to turn around. And we turn around, and now Tubetown is on my side of the car as we're coming back to it. And he's going pretty slow. so that he can let her get one more good look. And I'm looking too, you know, I'm seeing all these neat little things in Tubetown, the quirky, silly stuff. And I see why it's funny and what. So he's about halfway through, driving really slow for her, and we hear this loud yell, and he stops the vehicle, rolls down his window, and as he's rolling down his window, as he's rolling down his window, hold on, my son was calling. I'm so sorry. I'm trying to make that go off of there. Okay.
Hey, any interruptions or anything, you're good. This is,
Yeah, it's okay.
oh, you've heard my professional outlet. It had a 5-year-old run through the room already. So we're good.
Absolutely. It was absolutely adorable. So he's rolling down the window, because we're at this point, we're thinking something's wrong. Like the scream was loud. So we're both thinking, you know, maybe somebody's hurt. So he stopped the vehicle and he's like, huh? And he looks over and hears that man yell, do whatever you want. And he looks back at me, and we're both like really confused now. Well, I was, at least. And he looks back out and he says, listen, we're just vacationing and we wanted to come see this place. We're from out of town. We're just tourists. And that man said again, do whatever you want. You're gonna lose anyway. And he kind of looks back at me, and then he looks again and he tries to explain it. And I know this sounds like it's taken a long time, but this was just within, you know, a very short span of time. And he tries to explain again, listen, we're just tourists from out of town. And that's when that man kind of crouch, kneel, like, I mean, he didn't go down to the ground, but he just kind of hunched over some and pulled out his weapon and pointed it directly at our vehicle. So Wes froze, and he's like, he said the guy's name, then he knew the guy's name, and he says, John, please, we're just tourists. Please don't point your weapon at us. The little one's crying. I'm saying, go, just go. And now I understand why he didn't move immediately and was trying to talk him down, is because he panicked, and he says, listen, not really panicked, but he's like, listen, if I had moved, I didn't know if he would start shooting just erratically or, you know, what could happen. So he's trying to talk him down, and he's trying to pull his phone up to, I don't know, maybe take a picture or video or call 911. I don't know what he was trying to do in the moment, but the only way that anybody could think anything about what we had was he was trying to pull his phone up. And then the man stopped what he was doing, and then we drove off, and it went from there.
I've got a picture of the blessing box for you, Tug.
Okay, let's see this. Blessing box. So did it look like that? Is it more overgrown than that now? Or I'm just curious. I'm trying to.
Yes, it looks trashier now, and I don't mean to say that to be mean, but it just does, the area around it. But it was that grayish, you know, greenish. When I say like greenish, I guess because it was more of, you know, like how you get the green scum on the side of a pool. It has a lot more of that around it.
Oh Lord, the algae from the turtle ponds is creeping down the driveway.
Yeah.
That's what it is. It's the algae from the turtle ponds has taken flight and landed on the blessing box.
I keep thinking about that movie 7. You know, what's in the box?
What's in the box? What's in the box?
You know, the thing is, like you said, though, a child, they're not going to think anything about it. They think, ooh, you know, box, free stuff, you know, blessings, take what you need. Heck yeah. You know, so all that stuff.
Fair to you know, it seems unfair to lure people in and then chase them off with a gun. Seems unfair, but what do I know?
That's actually outside of the makeshift kind of fence area.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, that's why I think she was able to just go up to it. And I say that because when they were trying to ask me questions with the DA, she's trying to get me to explain it. I'm like, she says, is it a privacy fence? Is this or that? I'm like, it's definitely not like a real fence. It's pieces of different fences and metals and things kind of.
There's a futon there as a fence. Futon fence.
Yeah. It was really, I couldn't really explain that it's just not really a real fence. It's just a put together place.
So
Yeah.
you could hear and see him pretty well then from your vantage point. I mean, you could
Yes, from where I was at, I was able to see, and I didn't even actually ever call it what do they say, a pew pew. I called it a weapon because for me, I could see that silver barrel pointing my direction and him in a stance where his arm was outstretched and it was in our direction.
And you
He
were
was
the
beside this
closest one.
tree and
You were the closest one to him because you were on that side.
No, because we had turned around.
So
that's
you
why
were
I
on.
made.
Okay,
Yeah,
you
when
were
they
on
turned,
Tube Town side on the way back. Okay, gotcha.
Correct.
Gotcha.
Correct. But where we were positioned is that we were just a little bit past him, had just barely made it like a little more than halfway across like the Tube Town. And when I looked over, I could see clearly through the little one's window behind Wes's head.
That's horrible.
Scary.
So the little one could clearly see everything that was going on too. You said she was upset. I mean, she's clearly got a vantage point on that.
Yeah, she just started crying hysterically.
That's a horrible situation. How long do you think that little exchange, that exchange, you said, it happened really quickly. How long do you think all of that really took there?
I really think I'm feeling like maybe 2 minutes. It wasn't very long at all. It was just a quick, he yelled a couple times and Wes tried to talk him down. And then once I think he maybe realized I know this is just my opinion, but when it comes back to now who I've seen some of these other people and even know like their vehicles, for me, I think that man thought we were one of the what the Hales or Tube Town people. And that's why Wes kept saying, we're just cursed.
Do you have a similar car to one of them?
I do.
Interesting.
See, I didn't even place the similarity with vehicle. That's what I thought when I heard the you're going to lose anyway, that was there. It seemed
right,
like,
because that never made sense to be saying that to a stranger.
Right.
Yeah. I thought he thought it. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Sorry, it's okay. I just thought when that was starting to register to me as well, and I saw, I won't say who, but I saw the vehicle of one of the, the other people. And I'm like, okay, their vehicle looks really similar to mine.
Interesting.
Yeah, that statement, when I saw that in the reports, and it's interesting because, as far as both statements that were, with Wes's statement and your statement, I mean, all of that was pretty much exact, and there have been, I'd like to address a couple of allegations while we're there, there's been certain, I'm going to say, hate channels, I think that's the best word for them, that have been saying all of this is somehow some kind of strange, conspiracy plot, that you had gotten together, all of you, and you're like was said at the beginning, you didn't know anything about the channels or people or anything about this until you were right out there, right?
That's true. I had never heard of any of these people, none of them. And obviously now that it's been brought forward about what happened to me 9 years ago, there's a really good reason why I didn't try to know anybody or anyone from social media. So why
Legal
would I?
Vices, Legal Vices just pointed out John does not have good eyesight, but by his own admission. So now it's making more sense. He may have mistaken the car for somebody connected to the Hales, but it's almost worse. It's bad. It's like, so you just pull a gun out on anyone connected to the Hales. Like
Exactly.
That's not okay either. None of it's okay. Levy County needs to stop this behavior, but they just won't.
That's actually a really good point. It didn't matter who that was, anyone pulling out the old pew pew and pointing it at anyone. In fact, considering some of the things that have happened in court, yeah. So after all this happens, what are your all's reactions? So that's happened. You all are finally being able to move forward. Get away from that. What's happening then?
On that. So right after we got past him.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
So we get back down to the end of the road, and you can turn to go onto the highway there. And we stop there and both get our breath, calm down the little one. And Wes was like, I really feel like that we should call the police. And I agreed with him. I said, yeah, that was terrifying. And so he calls, and the lady on the phone is, trying to ask him questions and things, and he's explaining what happened. And she's like, stay right there and we'll send an officer. And I said, no, absolutely not. And so we end up turning down and going to the little post office that was on the main highway. And it's not too far from there, but it's up on the main highway. And while we're waiting there, cars turned off, parked. Wes is typing, and I didn't know still at that point who he was even messaging, but he types up an email, and then he said that he was sent this email to the owner of the property. And it wasn't probably 5 minutes or 10 or so. I don't really know. Like, the timing in this has got me confused, but it was all right there while we're sitting there that George had showed up, and she was filming, which I understand now why they're all so, they're on their about filming, because things get so misconstrued and so just crazy. So I asked her, I didn't know her. I didn't even know her name at that point. And I'm like, if you would, please don't film me, and please don't film the little one. And she respected that immediately. And so I don't, like, you never see me in any of that. And he's out there talking to her and to the sergeant and another officer that was there. And after he's done talking to her, he's talking to that sergeant, another lady, Deanna, came up, and she was kind of like my saving grace. She was the mother figure that comes up to you and says, hey, I'm with these people, and I'm so sorry this happened, and are you guys okay? And she calmed me down, and she was, laughing and trying to get the little one to kind of play and stuff too. And we were just kind of sitting there hanging out and waiting. And then the sergeant comes to my window, and he starts asking me what happened. And I, tried to explain a little bit, but I was being wary of it because I kind of had the feeling, and I knew it, and it was right. He's like, well, I'm going to need your ID and your information. And I told him, no, you don't. And I'm not giving you my information. And he started almost immediately getting mad about that. And he's asking me again. He's like, well, I can't do anything if you don't. And I'm like, well, you can go to him. He's telling you everything. And I'm terrified, and I don't want to give my information. And the thing I think that really hurt me the most in that moment is that even though we're parked and I'm in the passenger seat, you can pretty much tell, and I'm just going to throw it out there, that My SUV is a girl's SUV. It's got really pretty pink stickers all over the back of it. And so he goes to the back and he starts running my plate. And I yell at him. I said, stop doing that. And because it's, it's going over his radio. That's going to bring my information over his radio. Like, this is all going through my brain. I'm so scared because I didn't want these bad people to know who I was. I was terrified. And he's doing it anyway. And the other officer tries to come up to me and say, it's okay, ma'am. I'm sorry. We just need to get some information. I'm like, no, I've told you multiple times. I don't want to identify, and I don't have to identify. And that other officer, not the sergeant, but the other officer, and he's a nice guy, Trent, I think it was his name. He says, ma'am, I'm sorry. It's just our policy that we identify. And I stopped him immediately. I said, your policy does not trump the law. And I've told you multiple times not to do this. Just didn't seem like the sergeant cared, though. So that hurt.
Did it kind of shock you the way that the police were acting? How that just changes abruptly when you don't, you don't want to identify? Because again, you've been through a horrific situation. You have somebody that's arrived that seems to understand, hey, you've been through a horrific situation, but the police, their reaction, they're not doing anything to calm and de-escalate, it sounds like.
The sergeant really, that really hurt me, and that terrified me. The other officer that was trying to say, I'm sorry, it's our policy, and this, I'm like, I didn't care about your policy. That's not fair. And he was trying to de-escalate, but the sergeant, I did not feel was, and for him to run my information, and then he comes back to my window and he's like, just so you know, I'm not going to do anything to you, but your tag is expired. And it tricked me too fast because I know what he was doing. He was trying to make sure it was me and not somebody else. But I immediately reach in my glove box and say, no, it is not. I just bought this 2 months ago. And then boom, there is for sure my name. And that's frustrating. But
I can only imagine. Oh, go ahead.
Well, so that goes on, and then they ended up getting all of Wes's information, and then they were trying to look through videos, and they were trying to look through recordings. I guess there are some of like the edge of Tubetown property, but it just showed like where our vehicle was, and which showed the truth that we were just about past Tubetown when we stopped. And that's another thing. Not that it matters, because everybody sees that they're so back and forth on that other side, but there was no aggressively backing up. There was no slamming on the brakes. That was not what happened. We were driving really slow already, and then we stopped because we thought something was wrong.
Yeah, I've heard that. Oh, you backed up and didn't need to do that, and that was never the story that I heard. So I don't know where they're getting this stuff. But again, these channels, they just make stuff up. That's not unusual for them to just make stuff up. So like this thing about the warrants, letting people comment, oh, there's warrants out for her arrest, etc., without having any proof of that, without having anything.
Yeah, and you were talking about the reason you didn't want, your information to go out. There was this conspiracy, I'll say, that you had warrants for your arrest and everything else, and you were trying to hide something.
Yeah, I was trying to hide something, all right. I was trying to hide from the world that had already terrorized me and about killed me a decade ago.
Yep. Yeah.
That was my fear. That was my fear. And,
Actually,
well, so that goes on, and then they were trying to look through videos, and they were trying to look through
I think this would be a good place to actually talk about some of that. You know, we can talk about like how this situation, like what happens after. But you know, as far as you know, right at almost a decade ago, like what happened there. Yeah, why don't we talk about that a little bit? Would you like to explain some of that?
That's fine.
Okay.
So like I said a little bit earlier, I had a really large building in my little town, and the basement of it, I'm not going to lie, it does look pretty neat and scary. And there's these doors. I bet they're probably 1,000 pounds because they're these big, like thick doors that would, because it was a meat locker. This used to be a grocery store at the turn of the century. So it's a really neat old building. And my best friend then at the time, she was really into all this, I guess, I don't know if it was like haunted or if it was just YouTube in general, but she followed people and she's like, there's a guy that's doing a haunted house and he wants to move from California and he's asking people to see if they've got a place that's really cool or something that he could rent. And I think your place would be so perfect for that. And I was like, okay, well, I had already started cleaning up from the last renters that had been in there. I hadn't even thought about looking at new renters yet. And when she said that, I thought, this could be cool and why not? And originally, when the man came, I still, and I'm so dumb for this, but I still hadn't even seen his first video. And he comes and he's like this super happy guy. And he's, going around our little town and asking me questions about things, and her, because she's the one that wanted it. And he was really happy about the building. Is like, this would be so perfect. And I was trying to explain my ideas of like, this used to have a little haunted house in the top of it, for kids, every October. And I, I was a fool. I was very naive. And once it went to the first paper was a California paper that he said he was moving to Illinois, and that he had put a picture of my building and was like, I'm going to rent this place from this lady and it's really cool and this is going to be so great. Then all hell broke loose. And the first people that the local news was interviewing, they were telling the news, this is really cool. Yeah, we think this would be great. And they were as naive as me because they hadn't seen anything yet. And the guy come to me and from the news and said, my boss says I have to come back out because we haven't found anybody against it. And when you read some of the articles, like the people are saying, yeah, this would be good. This could be cool. And then he started finding people against it. And then that's when I saw my first Mckamey video was on the local news.
Oh no.
Yeah, and this to put the timeline, people now have heard a lot more about Mckamey and Mckamey Manor, but back when, this is a while back. So you have a thriving YouTube channel that's behind that. There's some stuff that's being discussed about it, but there's a lot of positive press that's still circulating online about this too. So I mean, a lot of people had no idea what was going on.
Not a clue. Not a clue.
Do you remember what the first video, the one they showed on the news, do you remember what it was?
Oh, goodness.
Or how you felt when you saw it?
I can say that I was mortified. I was kind of in shock. Because there was, blood and screaming, and they pointed out that, from what I know now, that it is just like a torture chamber. And it became a very, very terrifying experience after that. There's actually one video where I had already dealt with so much and I was so scared that even in the brightness of the day, right in front of that building there, I'm standing, and my best friend was on one side of me, and my husband there at the time was on the other side, and I am hiding behind him, gripping his arm, just barely speaking around the corner of him to this news person and pleading that I didn't know, and I'm just the landlord.
Yeah, I mean, you're renting a building here. You're not connected. But again, looking at the reaction, I can't even imagine like what it would be like. Hey, I've got this thing. This thing's going to be positive. Hey, there's something being added to the community. Sounds like a lot of fun. Megan mentioned that you thought it was like a family haunted house thing or something.
Poor thing.
The way he said it was just like, we'll do a really good haunted house for the community 2 months out of the year. But then I do my own thing. Once a month, I have 2 people come in and they want to do this to try to win money. And I was so naive. I was just so naive to it.
Well, and if people don't know what we're talking about here, so Russ, would you like to explain that? Would you or Megan, would one of you all want to explain exactly who Russ Mckamey
I
actually
can explain
is?
it. I can
Okay.
explain
Yeah.
it. Russ Mckamey is, he's famous for having the scariest haunted house in America. It's so notorious that Hulu did a documentary, which I highly recommend, I think it's called Monster Inside. Is that right?
Monster Inside or Monster Within.
Yeah, I think it's, hold on, let's see. Mckamey Manor.
Hold on, before you finish that, this is how involved I got in before I knew. Before he was bringing his stuff, my best friend and I literally were sitting down in front of a guy on Zoom that was from Vegas that was asking questions about what we thought about him and that he was going to do a movie.
Wow. Yeah, they ended up doing a documentary on Hulu about him. He ended up suing Hulu for it, but it was basically just, showing you sign away your rights to consent. And that was one of the biggest things that the state tried to go after him for, because you can't legally sign away your consent. Tug, I pulled up an article about it if you want to share the screen. This was done in 2019 because he moved to Tennessee then after Illinois. After Illinois, he moved it to Tennessee. So he had been in California, then Illinois, then now Tennessee. Here's what makes it so extreme. You have to be 21 and above or 18 to 20 with parent approval, complete a sports physical, a doctor's letter stating that you're physically and mentally cleared, pass a background check, be screened on Facebook, FaceTime, or phone, proof of medical insurance. Call me crazy, but if I'm going to a haunted house and they ask for my medical insurance card, I'm calling it quits. Okay. Sign a detailed 40-page waiver, pass a portable drug test on the day of the show, have to create a safe word. And then they'll do things like, they'll waterboard you, drag you behind a moving vehicle, lock you in a thing with a bunch of bugs.
They showed one of the guys, like one of the people that got drugged behind like for real, like behind an ATV. They were walking them behind it at first, and they end up falling down. So they continue to drag them, and they keep telling them, we're going to Mckamey Manor. It's just a little ways, and there is no Mckamey Manor. There is no place. It's basically, it's being tortured. It's tortured, and you're thinking, man, there's going to be an end to this sometime, and there's not. Ignoring this safe word, people are saying, I want this to be over. I mean,
get this. He offers money to people who make it through the experience. No one's ever made it through. Here's how Here's how he describes it. He describes the experience in a video on the website as a survivor horror boot camp, a place where you live your own horror movie. While the tour is expected to take 10 hours, Mckamey says most only last around 8 minutes. If you complete the entire tour, he will give you $20,000. The price of admission for Mckamey Manor is a 55-pound bag of dog food, and each participant is filmed during their visit to the manor.
Mm-hmm. So when you say that, see, the whole movie thing that I was told was not this crazy horror part. It was more of a docu-series of, it was going to, the man I spoke with is that we're going to do a docu-series, and that it was referenced to me, like it was going to be, the one that all people like really like, The Walking Dead or something like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and
I still thought at that time this could be cool.
On Hulu, it's called The Monster Inside, America's Most Extreme Haunted House. I actually watched this years ago when it came out. So, and I remember, because I was from Illinois, I remember when this all happened, because I'm from Illinois, and it happened but the year before I left, actually. So I am, it's such a strange coincidence that this just happened to be you that was wrapped up in this scandal in Illinois with Mckamey Manor. I mean, it's just unbelievable.
I don't think it's a coincidence. It scares me.
And then he ends up in July of this year getting arrested and charged with attempted murder and also some other things, SA. And just this week, no, Saturday, they dropped all the charges. So now you've got you're connected to 2 cases now where charges were dropped with these weirdo YouTube connected cases. It's very strange, Patty. It's very strange.
I'm terrified by it. I really am. That's yet again, being private was that I am terrified.
Yeah, so your experience actually gets worse with everything going on with Mckamey. With the building, firing into it. Could you tell us about that?
So once it was really coming about, and I tried, still in the beginning, I thought that, it wasn't so bad. And I, would try to talk about to bring money to the town because, if the TV thing was going to happen, and that it would bring entertainment to the town, because my naive brain was doing this family friendly haunted house during, September, October. And then people really started going crazy. I was okay with people knocking on the door while we were cleaning and trying to put it together and asking, what's really going to go on here. And I'm like, well, I rented my building to this man, and I've heard he's going to bring, things here, and I'm hoping it's good for our community. And I was okay with people pulling up into the parking lot, like at the edge of it, and then kneeling down on the sidewalk in front and praying over the building.
Oh boy.
And yeah.
There's a problem when people show up outside to pray. They're like, may the power of Christ compel you. Yeah, it's at that moment when you might want to do deeper research.
Yeah. I did start getting into some deeper research, and I did start seeing more, and I started feeling really sick about it and getting really scared about it, because that is when the first incident was my windshield was busted in of my vehicle. And then I had the lug nuts removed from my tire, and or loosened up.
I got that picture ready to go, Tug.
Okay.
Yeah. that
Pull that.
that they were loosened up from my tire, and as I was driving down the street, it flew off, and I mean it did the damage there around the fender.
You were lucky.
Then
You were lucky you didn't get seriously injured. With
Yeah.
that.
absolutely.
Or that the
Well,
flying tire didn't seriously injure somebody else or cause
true,
a
too.
pileup. Or this happened to me, except it was
Uh-huh.
just because idiots didn't put my tire back on correctly. But luckily, I wasn't driving it at the time. I called my husband because I felt it wobbling, and he came and took it. And I was behind him when the tire came flying off, and it went flying into somebody's front yard. I mean, those tires move fast when they come off a car. It's
Mhm.
scary, even when you're going slow.
I saw something like that happen on the interstate. I saw a car that was being towed, and one of the tires came off of the car being towed, and it went through like a minivan. It went through its windshield. Yeah, and
Oh my God.
luckily I saw the aftermath. You're on the interstate. You can't. By the time that happens close to you, you can't stop. But
No.
I saw news reports, and nobody was seriously injured. But still,
That's
the
amazing.
damage.
You know how heavy a tire is? Like it's
Yeah,
just
it's-
amazing nobody was seriously injured in that.
Mhm.
This is a
mean-
very serious accident. Very scary.
Yes. And then once that was all fixed, the next time, one tire having a little gash in it or something, I could understand could have possibly been an accident, but I had 2 tires slashed and were flattened when I went back out. And then I was at my building, and there had been that big picture window that's in the front. A brick had been thrown through it. And while I was investigating that, I'm looking around, and I'm sure I didn't count them all, but what I could count, I counted 22 bullet holes through other windows around the building. Now, here comes the worst part, is that I don't care about the whole, he claimed I wasn't going to give him back his stuff that he had stored in there, or that I had to do the court thing. What is awful is that as that front window was kind of, still cracking, falling apart and stuff, I'm trying to clean it up. And while I'm cleaning on it, there was a pointed shard of glass that I slip and I fall over the window and impale my abdomen in.
Ooh,
I've got that
there's the
picture ready
I
for you,
see that
too.
here. Oh man, that is horrible.
That's a Mckamey Manor incident there.
Oh,
And
man.
I was able to, I didn't scream, and I'll remember this even still to this day. And I talk to the mother every now and then that remembers too, that the only reason I didn't scream out was that she had 2 small children in her yard, and I just did not want to terrify them. So I held that and crawled over to my phone and called the cops or 911 something, whichever one it was at the time then. And I'm like, listen, I have glass sticking out of my abdomen and I need help now. And the ambulance driver and the now chief of police came, and he wrapped that glass around my abdomen and my arm to hold it in place. And I had to lay in the hospital for hours until they made sure that if I didn't hit a vital organ. And the doctor told my husband that I was within 3 millimeters of hitting a vital organ. Grace of God.
Yes,
That's terrifying.
You were the luckiest unlucky person ever, I'm going to say. I mean, for real, grace of God indeed. I mean, that is insane.
That's a real and amazing. This like real horror story happened to her because of a horror house. is just too much for me to take. Like, it's too much. It's too much. Like, when you told me this story, I was like falling over listening to that. Like, oh my God, you had an actual horror situation happen to you because of this haunted house and this horror show that Mckamey brought to Illinois. And
even more than that, it explains the reluctance. Like after hearing this background, I was like, yeah, I could understand why you'd be like, hey, I'm going to keep this as far away from me as I can, because I've seen blowback, and yeah, it didn't feel really good when I was holding it in a hospital inside of me. That's not fun. Oh, Lord.
Yeah, I mean, that's some real trauma. That's real trauma from what happened here. And there's no way that you weren't suffering, like reliving that and all the things that happened to you the last time a YouTuber was involved in your life. So I can absolutely understand why you didn't want to put your name in there. People were saying, I'm sure Patty has the police report. Yep, she sure does. And I have it. We can pull up one of the police reports, because I think there must have been multiple. Because this does not cover everything. But again, please remember, this was 10 years ago. The fact that she was able to even find this one is kind of amazing. It is redacted.
You ready?
Go ahead and pull. Yeah. Okay. So this is one of them, to document the criminal damage to the property done at this building owned by Patricia. So they get there, and it's for a window being knocked out of the business. Patty showed me a small section of glass that was knocked out of the building front window. I took photographs. She showed me several places that appeared to have been shot with a BB gun or pellet rifle. I also photographed this damage, and then I entered the building and observed a small piece of brick lying on the floor.
They make it sound like seeing some of the pictures in the aftermath, they make it sound like so neat and clean almost, you know?
I know, they make it sound like no big deal. Like, we've seen the picture of her with the giant piece of glass sticking out of her abdomen. So it's like, no, it wasn't small damage. It was very serious. Did the accident happen after this report or before?
After.
Uh-huh. That makes sense. But it's amazing to me how these people can downplay stuff. And also, look at how he says here that appeared to have been shot with a BB gun or a pellet rifle. Also could have been a 22.
Yep.
Could have been a rifle. Like, the idea that could have been a BB gun or a pellet rifle. Also, a pellet rifle can hurt you real bad, because pellet rifles they have the pointed ones too. That's the kind I use for wild animals, and that'll go through you. So,
along with this, something that was brought up repeatedly was $35,000. You know, there was articles about that. Yeah, could you tell us a little bit about that?
So, when he came, he brought this van. He had this red van. And he only came that one time in that red van, and he had stuff in the back of it. Pretty full, you know, but no bigger than, I had a small room in the back of the building, maybe the size of a little bit larger bathroom or a small bedroom is no bigger than this room. So his stuff that he brought all fit in that one little room. And when he left Illinois to go back to California, at the time he was going back and forth and stuff, doing his things, he put his stuff in that room, and I locked the door, and he had the only key. And forever he said, oh, you know, that's a few $1,000s worth of stuff in there, so I hope it's safe. I'm like, it's absolutely safe. Nobody's going to know what room it's in or anything, and you have the only key. So, of course, for views or YouTube stuff, social media, he had to say, $35,000 worth of stuff I left there, and she's keeping it, and I can't go get it. And it was all just a big thing. But I took him to court because I needed him out. I'm like, well, first off, he didn't pay any rent. And I kept saying, you haven't even given me any money since you've had your stuff here. And so I have to evict him. And I wasn't the reason why that part of it got dropped is I did not really know how to do that accurately at the time. I mean, I've learned now, but I filed wrong. Well, when I filed that, he counterfiled for his stuff. And it says right there in black and white the amount that he had in there.
Yeah, he has totaled it up to $8,450. This is his countersuit. So he's listed, if you see up here with the letters A through M, all of his property and what the estimated value is. A head box trap, $400. Portable CD system with 10 speakers, $500. 6 professional amps, $1,500. 15 large and small LED DJ lights, $1,000. 4 computer graphic effect mirrors, $150. 14 DVD players, some other DVDs, $1,000. 3 boxes containing 50 snakes and critters. I hope they were fake. $400. 3 boxes containing fake body parts, arms, hands, legs, feet, eyes, etc. $400. 50 fake weapons, $300. 10 15-inch powered speakers, $2,000. 6 fog machines, $300. Thunder and lightning machine with CD player and effects, $200. 4 large and 10 small strobe lights at $300. And the total value, according to him, is $8,450. So wherever he just came up with that $35,000, just
He did.
off the top of his head.
It was good for him at the time to say, you know, oh, this woman has $35,000 worth of my stuff. Like I would even want it, but
Right.
that was, yeah, that's what
Why
he
would
You
said.
didn't want a box full of fake body parts? Come on, who doesn't want that?
What's a
You
head box
know-
trap? I need to know what a head box trap is.
Sounds like something out of a Saw movie, you know?
Yeah.
Megan, I don't want to know. I've already got PTSD from all of this.
Oh, it's from the Saw franchise.
Yeah, maybe like, this
Ooh.
thing on my avatar here. Let me check it out. Like that, maybe?
Yeah, sort of, except it's like a full-on box, like
Yeah.
a metal box that goes over your head, and then I guess you can put like critters in it to
Ugh.
terrify
like
you
those
around
midi-
your face.
But you didn't get, so you dealt with all this madness too, and you didn't get paid at all? Like for any, oh my God.
And
No,
I
he didn't
even
pay her.
No, didn't pay me, didn't care, never made me feel like he really truly cared about all the damages when I'm telling him like this stuff is happening and it's bad. And I never got rent from him. I never got anything other than my abdomen impelled and the headache from all the drama and the hate
And how much money did it cost you to fix all the vandalism?
I don't actually remember that. I know that I started small doing like a window at a time, and then insurance covered obviously my vehicle.
Jeez.
I don't know.
Yeah. So she didn't even get her rent out of it. And the judge dismissed both. And because she filed wrong for the eviction, which is really easy to do in Illinois, by the way. Illinois has incredibly complex an eviction process, and you have to like have a lawyer do it. You can't even, they make it so hard you can't do it yourself. I know landlords in Illinois, and they make it really expensive and really difficult to do. So I'm not surprised.
But now the judge didn't just dismiss his. Once between the time that I had filed and he did this counterfiling to the time that the actual court case came about, he came here and got his stuff. I didn't hold it from him. He came here and it's funny that you say Tennessee, Tug, because he brought the man from Tennessee that was giving him the place down there. And the man from Tennessee is the one that helped him get all this stuff out of my building. And they talked all about what they were going to do in Tennessee.
Oh, no. That's so crazy. I mean, that's how I found, like I said, that's how I knew that name when it came up. When it all registered, I was like, holy crap, and a lot of stuff going on with you. I mean, again, going back to where we are, I wanted to put that in because I wanted the mindset of the person in that car, that's saying, don't run my license, don't put my name out there. I mean, first of all, yeah, the person's already pulled a gun on you, so you don't want them to know who you are, but you've already had dealings with absolute insanity. Oh, man.
Yes.
But that was dismissed too. I want to make that very clear, because that had been, that was weaponized right off the, oh, that's what you were hiding. And It's like, no.
No, I can
No.
show you the dismissal. I can
proof.
show you the motion to vacate. I have that. It's actually handwritten. But yeah, I have it here somewhere.
Small town.
I'll grab it.
Well, his attorney, because when that came up, his attorney specifically told the judge, "No, ma'am, he, I didn't remember. It was like she already gave this to him, or he already got this. Somehow, whatever it was said was he's already got the equipment, and we are not going to go through with that."
All right, so here it is, Tug. We've got, you can see at the top, I've redacted her name. It says versus Mckamey in the case number, which is up here. But if we go into this, but this is basically just an order of all the things that happen in the case. But if you go down here, the respondent withdraws counter complaint. No fees or costs awarded.
Freaking handwritten. I mean, what happens if the town gets smaller? Do we write it on a cocktail napkin? I mean,
I know, isn't this crazy? And when she went to the clerk to ask, she went to because there is a docket, on Illinois docket, you can pull up and see the files. Nothing is attached to this. It's all handwritten in a file down at the clerk's office. Isn't that crazy? It's not digital. And it wasn't then, I guess. 10 years ago. I guess 10 years ago, we were still handwriting shit in Illinois. Crazy.
That's right.
That's just wild. It's wild too. You had all of this stuff where you were like, hey, I can clarify everything. That's awesome, actually, because you didn't just come out and set the record straight. You were like, you came out with proof and set the record straight on all of this stuff.
I have nothing to hide, Tug. There's nothing for me to hide. And I think even with all this, them asking about this and that, the funniest thing was she must have warrants. I mean, I wasn't upset. It was just like, it just made me laugh because I've never been in trouble. I've never tried an illegal drug. I've never had, I think 20 years ago, I had a speeding ticket.
What? Speeding tickets? Interview canceled. No, I'm just kidding.
How dare you speed in this great nation of ours? Yeah, it's just silly. And by the way, I should also say the first time I talked to Patty was, I don't know, last Tuesday. So like a week ago, like Tuesday. And not this Tuesday, last Tuesday. And on that day, I knew about this, but I knew about the connection because I Googled it. And then I asked her about it. And we had this conversation about Mckamey. And I didn't obviously say it on our Tuesday interview. And I took that out of our talk because I didn't want there to be any identifying information because she didn't want to be known what her name is. And if you Google $35,000 and you Google Mckamey and Patty, you're going to find it because it made the news that he was alleging that she owed him this $35,000. And so I didn't talk about it. Well, and I said that night on Tuesday, the hate channels, I know you're going to be wanting to dox this person, but don't do it because she's a victim and it's wrong and you shouldn't do it. Well, they didn't listen. And they had to go on and put out information that would lead people straight to the news stories. And so that's why we did what we did on Saturday. And we came out and told this story about Mckamey Manor because people ought to know, instead of baseless allegations being thrown around to try and impugn somebody's character, someone who's just been a victim of 2 crimes, that shouldn't be allowed. It just shouldn't. It had to be answered. So that's why. But I don't do that kind of stuff. Like in journalism, you sometimes when you get a source from a story, you learn a lot of things in that interview that you don't use because it might be harmful to the person or it might be, not relevant to the story you're telling. And so you don't just blab it all. You know, you only use what's relevant. You only use what is supposed to be a part of that story. And, you know, we were forced into giving out identifying information, which I think is really, really, it's really shady and shitty.
Well, I mean, like I was asking you at the beginning of it, you know, you're the victim in a situation that's gone on, and we'll continue with what happened there. But people didn't treat you like a victim. They treated you like everything but. I mean, they took aim at you. They took aim at what you call it, your bonus dad, you know?
Yes.
I mean,
I know. And
So-
that I wanted to address that if that was okay.
yeah.
Like I said, I already had that channel, and I had stopped because I had all that happen with the Mckamey Manor. And when we bring up my bonus dad and that he's just started Bub's Tackle Box, so people are saying, "Oh, this is because of this." No, when they see Bub's Tackle Box YouTube channel, you won't find anything about this on there. Dad doesn't want anybody to put anything like that. He doesn't want people to follow him because they think they might see that. It's family, it's fun. He's got a wonderful talent. And if they want to watch it for that, that's great. And that's what we want. And showing love to me too. I know that people are like, we subbed to your dad because of you. And I love that. I love that. But he's very patriotic. And somebody had said something about, well, you know, her first video that had been put on there was on the 4th. Well, he started Bub's Tackle Box in May, and I had gone down to Florida, and then there was this beautiful drone show. I'd never seen anything like that. A beautiful drone show in Ocala. And I filmed it and put it on there for him. Not because it was the day after, not because it was YouTube, whatever. It was for him because his logo even has a flag. I mean, that's just who he is. So I just wanted to address that.
Now, Tug, you don't have to put it up if you don't want to, but I just thought I do have the proof of the doxing information that was posted on the community page of one of the hate channels, just to show you this was after my first recorded interview with her last Tuesday. This was posted directly after that.
Well, that's why I wanted to address certain things here, like the 35K, you know, the bonus dad situation, the channel. I wanted to address all of that because, you know, frankly, it disgusts me that you go through this stuff. You know, again, you've been through a traumatic situation and you wanted justice. And because you wanted justice and you weren't just willing to shut up and let it all fly. I mean, and you shouldn't be asked to do that.
Right.
This kind of stuff. Ugh. So
you can see here, it says Patty's name, 35,000, Mr. Mckamey. And if you put those 3 things in Google, you're going to find it. You're going to find it. You just are. And this is doxing. And they're complaining and saying, we didn't dox her. She came forward. No, she didn't come forward. She told her story about being a victim, but she said she didn't want to be identified. And you guys went out of your way to identify her. And you did it on Facebook too. So, and there's screenshots of those that I have. I don't feel like really pulling those up. They also went after her dad, and
let me say bonus dad. Let me explain bonus dad. My mama and daddy are both deceased, and I, you know, being in a small town, I didn't have that person, and when I met him and his whole family, we had become neighbors, and he just kind of stepped in and stepped up when he didn't have to. And then his daughter started calling me sis, and his wife is like the most beautiful soul ever. I mean, they've been together, you know, I was in kindergarten when they got together. So these people have been super great to me. So I was more than willing to want to help when he said that his lifelong dream was to have a bait shop and do bait stuff. And that was the reason for the channel. It's got nothing to do with this.
Yeah, and so they're going after this innocent guy, you know, like asking these questions about, oh, her dads didn't get the jump in subs that Wes received after meeting Jeremy and his people, you know, and then here's questioning his YouTube channel. You know, it's just unnecessary. All of this is totally unnecessary. And also like giving the okay to like go after this poor man.
They're just salty because people get subscribers. Like I said with Megan, I'll say, yeah, they are. They're very salty.
I know. I like that word
so much. You know, it's like, hey, if Patty wants to grow that channel, hell yeah. You know, if they're going to be that salty, I'll make sure that channel hits 10,000 subscribers. Screw those people.
That was so funny.
I'll make it. Yeah, we'll make it rain subscribers. Come on.
We'll make it rain. Make it rain up in here.
Well, the thing is though, Tug, is like he is that person. Like he did deserve that in the way that it's done right, not like a push. Right. I'm not going to be like, you know, hey, you should please talk about. No, there is one video in it, and I'm not even going to be like all about it. But if you guys see it, where he actually flew down, I didn't say why he flew down, but he flew down, and I just put, you know, my hero. But the reason he flew down was because John Crook was in that jail, and I was terrified to go there by myself and try to do my victim statement. And so here this man that, like I say, this is my bonus dad. Here dad flies down just to protect me because I'm too scared to even do it on my own.
See, that's awesome. Like, I think that's absolutely awesome. Having a support system. It's great that you have a support system in this stuff, too, just to be honest. So, getting on that subject there. So, car, police report. Do you feel like we need to add anything to that portion before we start talking about what happens in the aftermath there?
Well, I did file a complaint against that sergeant, and it was dismissed by, I believe it was Scott Trumid, that he said that, you know, he had every right to run it no matter what. I don't feel that that's true. I felt very victimized by that, but he said that it wasn't, he didn't do anything wrong.
They did find in that investigation that I read, they found that he had not put her name out over the radio. And so at least they said they could find no record of it. And that's really why they decided to drop it.
So
I do not blame you for being angry about that anyway. I mean,
yeah, I didn't like the way he treated her. It was bad. He should have talked to her a lot nicer than he did and just try to explain it in a way that would make sense. But he didn't. He was just being aggressive.
And there's video. Like, if anybody is like, oh, you know, I don't think that. Well, go check the video out. You know, we actually went through that when it happened, and it made me angry. Actually, it made me quite angry to see how that played out. So we all
picked up on it. We picked up right away on it, on the police officer not respecting her boundaries.
How long were you there waiting around with the police to do their thing? How long were you sitting there? You know,
I know we sat there more than an hour, maybe even 2. They took forever to arrive. I mean, we sat there and waited way beyond what we should have for an officer to come for something like that.
Yeah, that's serious. I mean, that has to be frightening too, to be sitting there and wondering if this is going to escalate, if something else might happen.
I was scared to death. That's all I can say is there's just terrified.
Yeah, luckily, like you mentioned, Deanna, we saw her with like Lloyd, and her calming influence. We got a feel for that. And I have to say that she did a very good job in that. So it's good to hear that you had somebody to calm you down and to actually support you in this.
Yeah, she is she's legit that person, because what she did, what you saw with her and Lloyd, is exactly how she made me feel that first day that this, when it all just happened, is she made me feel the same.
So in the aftermath, you everything's filed. You guys, you head back home. I mean, after this, are you just like, man, this is ruined. I got to go. I got to get out of here. Go back home, or how does that go?
So after it all went down and Dad had flown down and we'd taken care of that part, and I get on back home, I had officially filed on July 31st was it's like, that's my victim statement actual filing date.
What made with you? So you change your mind from when you're in the car that day to then. What makes you decide that you're going to file and actually give a statement?
The as my rest of my month is going on and the kids are there, because I mean I had paid for the whole month of July, so I wasn't going to, and I was nowhere near Otter Creek where I was actually staying. So I had, the other kids coming, and I wanted to try my best to enjoy that time with them. And as the time was going on, it just never left the back of my mind that this man did what he did. And then I just kept telling myself, like, you've already went through this. This is bad. And it had happened before, but this is bad. This is really bad. And he shouldn't be doing that. So I flew the kids back a few days early, and then that way I could go ahead and do the court stuff, because I didn't want them, or the police station and things, I didn't want them to be involved in that. And then Dad flew down, and I went ahead and went to the police station, because I just felt like before I left Florida, that was the right thing to do. What the man did was wrong, and the right thing for me was to go and fill out that report.
So when you filled out the report, did they sit and talk with you too, or you just had to give them a written statement, or what was that like? How did they treat you?
So they first said, the lady that answered at the window said that I would have to talk to that sergeant, and that was already frustrating. And I said, is there anybody else I can speak with? There was another officer there that day, and he was just more kind. I mean, that's the best way to put it. He was actually trying to de-escalate and calm me and things. And she said something like he was on a call. So I waited, and I would say, I think Dad and I sat there a little over an hour before I'm like, is there anything else I can do instead of waiting here for him to finish his call? Because, we're just, there's nothing there that you can do in that area, really. So she ends up saying,
You mean
yes.
The bait shop, the bait tackle, and post office wasn't enough for you, Patty? What more could you want than the post office / bait shop?
Yeah.
I'm just kidding. I'm sorry. I couldn't help myself.
So I end up getting the paper, and we go ahead and we head back toward Illinois. And when I get back to Illinois, as I'm on my way back, that Officer Trent calls and explains, what I needed to still do. And once I got back to Illinois, I sat down and filled out the paper, to the best of everything I remembered. And I submitted that to him, and he called me back, asked me like a couple of questions, and said, everything was good. It lined up good as to, what we had said that initial day. And, that tells you something too. I mean, like, this is in my brain that this all happened. And even, the 3rd to the 31st, it still happened exactly that way. Even today, it still happened exactly that way. But he said that he was taking care of it, and I never heard any more. So the 31st, we get into August. The first week goes by. Like, none of this time did I hear from anybody. Never a victim's advocate, never a DA, never an assistant, nobody. And
Which, by
then
the way, is against her rights as a victim. Florida has victims' rights that are in the Constitution. I looked it up. And victims' rights, they are to be given a victim's advocate in the nearest possible time to the crime. The police officer at the scene is supposed to hand them a victim's rights brochure. She did not get that. She did not get a victim's rights advocate assigned to her right away. She didn't get one until, she'll tell you, way later. And they never did anything for her. Never gave her any of her, didn't even inform her of her victim's rights. She had a right to know when the hearings were going to take place. She had a right to attend the hearing where they were making a deal to let him out of jail. They never informed her of those hearings. Nothing. She got nothing that she was entitled to by law.
They never even told me that they let him out. Wes ended up sending me a text message saying they let John Cook out of jail, and that was the one and only time that I even knew that he had been released.
And that's also a violation of her rights as a victim. They have to let her know. They have to let victims of crimes know when the perpetrator is being released. And they have a right to show up at the hearing and to ask the judge not to release them. And the state is also supposed to sit you down and tell you what deal they've worked out. And you're supposed to have a say in it. So if they say, well, we've decided to let him out with time served on his own recognizance, you're supposed to have a right to say, no, I'm not comfortable with that. But they didn't do that.
No, they did not. So around the 15th or 16th, I made my first call and I got an assistant, and she said, or I told her I wanted to talk to Ariel Screws because Wes had said that was the person that was assigned to the case. And that lady, I don't know if she said, I'll give her your number, or she can call you back. She's not available at this time. But I didn't hear from anybody. So the next day I call back again and I ask for Ariel Screws. And this time the lady says for me to hold on a minute. And the next voice that comes on the phone is a man, and it was Dan Owens. So almost immediately, from what I can remember from that conversation, was him trying to explain what the Hales and the Lynette and the back and forth and all the trouble and drama. And I literally stopped him and I said, wait a minute. You need to talk to me like I am a person that before the day that this man did this to me, I had never heard of any of these people. I had no idea they were YouTubers, knew nothing about their channels, knew nothing about the drama that was going on between them, because that is the truth. I am that person. I had no clue. And then his tone changed and he said, but this is where it's kind of, now looking back at it, it's like he should have never said this, but he told me basically that before I went any further forward, that I needed to watch these YouTubers and then decide what I
Then
was
you're
going to
supposed
do.
to decide if it's still a crime if someone pulled a gun on you, because YouTube's going to change your mind.
That's disturbing because you have a weapon pulled on you. I mean, what does that have to do with anything? Even if you were fully cognizant of everything that went on, what does that have to do with anything?
How would it change your mind? I'm assuming you have watched some of the video, the YouTube coverage now. Has any of it changed your mind that what happened to you wasn't a crime?
Yeah, do you feel like you should have had that happen to you after knowing about this now? I mean,
No, in fact, even more.
Yeah, I would
I'm
think.
just like, this guy is scary. These people are really scary, and it did not
No, it
change my
didn't change your
mind.
mind. Well, damn it, Patty. That's not what the Levy County DA wants to hear from you. And you're a disappointment to the Levy County DA. By the way, and this just hit me. I got an email from somebody today who says Judge Craig DeThomasis was in a movie that you need to watch. And sure enough, he is in a documentary from years ago. And Tug, some of the same people in the Levy County DA's office is involved in this documentary. And it's the same kind of shit.
Wow.
I am going to, it's not something that I can play on YouTube. It is on YouTube, but it's not something that I can actually play on YouTube because I don't know how it's still on YouTube because there's full on nudity in it and a lot of it. Because there's a video of this alleged event and DeThomasis.
I was like, what kind of video were they in?
Yeah, well, it was a very big case in Florida, an ARP case at a fraternity house, and what's his name? DeThomasis was the lawyer for the woman who claimed that she was ARPed, and there was video of the whole event. We're gonna watch it on my locals channel, you guys. We've got to because it is insane. And and 3 of the characters in the DA's office we've been looking at throughout the Easel case, which is the peeping Tom in the tanning salon, this case, and also the other things that we've been looking into, the article we read about the corruption in the DA's office. 3 of the same characters are in this thing.
Yeah, how many cases was that again with the SA battery? How many was it they had? 200 and do you remember?
Over 200, and they only took 7 to trial for a whopping 2.7%.
Yeah, the 39% of them they gave plea deals to, and those plea deals were just, I mean, they were horrible. Like absolutely horrible. Like looking at that kind of stuff, looking at them being half the national average, which is already abysmal anyway. Like the stuff that happened to you, Patty. Unfortunately, like it's not surprising to see that they just let this stuff slide, but it is appalling. They have been called out nationally because of some of the stuff that they've allowed to transpire. Yeah. I mean,
yep. And I'm gonna have that done on my locals channel because if I do it on YouTube, I'll probably get banned. Because I don't know how it's still up on YouTube because there's some seriously graphic footage and it's really hard to watch, but we'll do it on my locals channel, meganfox.locals.com. I'm having a flash sale right now. If you want to be a member, you can use promo code locals. You'll get 2 months free for off an entire year. So do it now.
I'll have to check that out for sure. Yeah. So he's telling you to watch videos and you're not, it doesn't sound like you're very pleased to be hearing this.
Oh, by the way,
taking.
Dan Owen, by the way, is the same guy who in the article we read is known for having a rough bedside manner and has told victims of SA, he's asked them what they were wearing. So that's the guy we're talking about right now who was on the phone with Patty. That's who he is.
Yep.
Well, I thought about it and I called back the next day and I got a hold of, this time, Ariel Screws. And she said the only way that she could move forward was if Wes and I came back to Florida and looked through pictures and papers, documents, whichever, that she needed us there in front of her so that we could point out these things and discuss them in depth. And I tried to ask her, why couldn't we just do it via Zoom or, stream it? And she said that it was necessary to point at these pictures and go through this stuff in detail. Well, I went. And in between the time that happened and going was when I felt pretty upset about what happened with Wes. And that's another thing that's come forward that I'd heard, that something about a GoFundMe for Patty. No, I'm saying that straight out right now. Number one, no, there is not one. I've never heard of one. I've never said anything about one. Number two, no, I don't want one. I don't. Nobody needs to. I seen that in some comments on something. Oh, go needed. No. Patty's already paid for her trip back to Florida. I paid for it by myself. I made sure to go do what I had to do. And please, nobody think, I mean, even if people are thinking it, Patty doesn't need that money. She's okay.
Yeah, you haven't asked for anything, actually.
Nothing.
Nothing at all. I mean, it's just, it's
Nope.
wild for people to connect your name to anything because, again, you did this on your own dime. You didn't talk about it in the moment there. You didn't ask for anything. You did it.
Mm-hmm.
And there's
Yeah,
text messages to prove it. We read the
Yes.
text messages. There's text messages to prove her saying the only thing that Patty was said about money was, we don't need more money than that. And you should stop that GoFundMe when it gets to the amount of money that will pay for our trip, and don't take any more money from people. All you said was, that's too much, and I'm not going to take money from these people except for if they want to pay for my trip to Florida. Well, great, I'll take that, but that's it. So
that was
all
it.
you said, and we have the proof of it. We have it in the text messages between you and Wes, who, by the way, I've given Wes until tomorrow to do the right thing and return that money. And then I told him, when I write this in pjmedia.com, when I actually write it up as to what Levy County is doing, I won't have to talk about that unfortunate event. But if he doesn't return the money, I'm going to have to. That's just the way it goes. So I hope he does. I did hear from him. He said he was going to get back to me. Haven't heard from him since.
Same.
Yeah, we
Although
saw
he
that
did
in
give you your lawnmower back, right? You got your lawnmower. So thank goodness.
I got my lawnmower. The dog was barking and I was looking outside. I'm like, what's going on? And I didn't see anybody. And then I get a random message, your lawnmower is back.
Oh, good.
So yes, I got that back.
Good.
So
I
So they
don't
tell
wish
you-
bad for him. I don't. I really don't. And the little one, she is so sweet and so precious. But I do feel like it was done wrong. And I went back and I did it on my own anyway. I done what I was supposed to in Levy County.
Mm-hmm.
So you go back. How did that go?
So being from a small town, you've got very few options about flying, and the closest airport only flies out on Sundays and Thursdays. So I set it up and flew out on Sunday the 25th. I went to my appointment with Aerial Screws on the 26th. And going into that building and into that appointment was the first time that I heard of and spoke to and saw the victim's advocate.
Yeah, that's not how that's supposed to work.
Yeah, that's not supposed to happen like that at all. There should have been contact well before that. There should have been multiple contacts. That's absolutely that's very.
It's a violation of her constitutional rights in Florida.
It angers me as like I'm a mental health professional, and as a mental health professional, what you've gone through. I mean, I can hear it. Like sometimes when you talk about this stuff, you can hear the anxiety. You can hear the stress that comes up. You can hear it in your voice there, and you can hear that emotion. And those people, that's what they're there for. They're supposed to be there to say, you have the state behind you. You're okay.
No, I did not feel that. That's for sure. And you saying that, I think speaking out and speaking out a few times now, I have calmed down from that. But that day when I went in that room and Ariel Screws was sitting at her desk, that lady that was now I knew was my victim's advocate sat in a chair to the side, and I sat across from the desk. And I made everything clear that what happened. They asked, what happened? And I explained it just like I've explained what happened that day to them. And as I'm explaining it, I go into that panic. I start crying. My body starts trembling. And my anxiety is just through the roof trying to talk about it. And that was the first time that I spoke up to anyone since what happened a decade ago. I said it to those two ladies. I said, I've already been in a traumatic experience that involved weapons. That this is terrifying to me. And for a little bit, they seemed responsive to it. And, they're trying to get me tissue and whatnot. And then they flipped the script. And I'm immediately asked about YouTube. And they start talking about, do I watch these channels? And I explain just like I have here. I've seen a little bit of it since the 3rd of July. Before that, I had no idea who these people were, couldn't have told you anything about them. And then they asked me if I personally have a YouTube channel, which I honestly can say personally, no. Then they asked me if anybody in my family, like, you see where this is going. So it's like, I don't even understand why. Does anybody in my family have a YouTube channel? Well, there is Bub's Tackle Box, and that's, my dad. And she starts writing it down.
Did she write anything
while she's writing it,
did she write anything else down that day that when you were telling her were telling her your story? Was she writing down notes when you were telling her what happened to you?
Not that I remember at all. I remember only watching
until the YouTube thing. Mm-hmm.
Bub's, that she wrote down, and that's the only thing she wrote was YouTube, Bub's Tackle Box. That was it. That's all she did. And while she was writing it, sorry.
No, I was going to say, it sounds like you're in a police interrogation is what this sounds like, really.
As she was writing it, I said in that moment, I said, listen, since you're writing down my dad's channel, I hope that you watch it and watch every bit of it. And you see that there's nothing on there that is linked to this case or talks about any of this or any of these people. It's not about that. It is a fishing page and bait. And she's just, I don't know. It was mind boggling.
Good Lord.
Did they, so through this, did they show you any pictures or anything that you needed to point to or anything like that?
Absolutely not. That probably upset me the most is when I left there, they said, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out. And Ariel Screws gave me her card. And during that, no, there was not a picture. There was not a document. There was nothing. So the next day, I didn't have questions. I was upset. And that's when I wrote them an email. And I gave Megan that email.
You want me to pull it up? I've got it here.
Of course.
There you go.
1 second here. Let me. Oh, yes. I read. I'm gonna read this. I thought this. Again, you can see the emotion in this. I'm gonna read this. I've sat down and had time to reflect on our conversation yesterday, and though I don't necessarily have questions, I do want my voice to be heard. It has to be clear in the audio from the officers that I was genuinely terrified after the traumatic experience I was involved in. My unwillingness to initially come forward because of fear was clear. My phone conversations with the police and your staff had to clearly show the fear I have. I am hurt that you didn't reach out to me. I am hurt that you talk so much about all the social media, more than I feel you talked about the man who pointed a weapon at innocent, unarmed humans. I'm hurt that you were so focused on the hype from social media that you made me, a single mother on a limited income, spend money I don't have to fly down and rent a car just to sit in your office less than an hour and talk. You had me point and no pictures. You didn't go through any papers. Our conversation could have easily been done via Zoom.
Sorry.
And when it moved, I was like, wait, where'd it go? Okay. As there was absolutely nothing done other than talking. You really need to treat this case for what it is. I knew nothing about any of these people before July 3rd, 2024. I still don't really know much about them. I was an innocent human minding my own business when a man I've never seen before pulled out his weapon and pointed in my direction, making me and two others fear for our lives. Social media and hype aside, he did wrong, and it significantly traumatized me. You wrote down about my family's social media, and I pray you watch it all so you see that I want nothing to do with my name being made out or YouTube popularity. I've insisted from day one to stay as private as possible. I was so scared to come forward that my dad flew down just to be by my side. I fell victim to a man who pointed his weapon at me and feel victimized by your office because you're more focused on social media agenda than the assault. I should not be the one paying for it mentally, emotionally, and financially. Thanks, Patty. And I just had a little kid raider walk in right when I was you can hear what you need, kiddo.
Sissy to my neck. We'll play the little and
Oh,
twist it.
no. Here, I'll give it a kiss. Ah, there it is. Okay. Is that better? Okay.
High five.
Yeah, give me a high five, too. All right. Bam, bam. Now go play for a little bit.
Let's do it. We do the fist bump high five.
Okay, we can do the fist bump high five. Okay. Boom. All right.
The second one.
Okay. There we go. All right. There we go. Better.
Hello.
Hello. Good. Say goodbye, too.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Hello, goodbye. That's funny.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, you can see the emotion in all of that. And I mean, it goes with exactly what you're saying here, too. I love that you have an email that proves, that goes point by point with what you expressed here. You're telling them, hey, wait a minute. You know, you're so focused on social media and all this hype that it seems like you forgot exactly what this was about. Not only that, you lied to me. You made me come down here, do all of this stuff. And for what? It's frustrating. It's disgusting.
They didn't respond to that either. So she sent another email to Michelle Barr, who was the victim's advocate, after being told that they were dropping the charges because Wes didn't come to talk to them like she did.
I can't believe the victim's advocate. And I mean, the whole idea that Wes has something to do with you and everything too. I mean, how do you, with that, what do you feel about that? You know, you have Wes coming up and what does he have to do with you?
Honestly, I have never in my life really felt that being a woman was less valued. But this here and what they sent when they said his testimony, his cooperation, when I knew I did everything they asked of me, this is the first time in my life that I truly felt that being a woman meant that I just didn't matter.
I mean,
That's the way they treated you. And that's the way that journalist, that's her investigation that we read the other night. That's what she found too. She found that Dan Owen had asked victims what they were wearing, that women's stories were not valued, that their witness statements weren't taken, that they weren't, I mean, it sounds like a Levy County problem to me.
Yeah, scroll down like just a little more that bright. I want to see that. So what did you think about getting an automated message that tells you, we're sorry that you were a victim of a crime. Attached is a PDF, by the way, and we're going to tell you that this is dismissed. I mean,
Yeah, here's the PDF that was attached to that. We're sorry you're the victim of a crime. This letter is to inform you that the Office of the State Attorney will not be pursuing prosecution against the above-named defendant for the offenses charged in the above-referenced case. This decision is based on the following. Upon review of the case and relevant case law, there are ultimately two reasons the state is unable to move forward in this case. The first, the state cannot reasonably rely on the victim's appearance, as in one victim's appearance, and therefore cooperation at future court proceedings. And so we would not have his testimony to present at hearing or trial. The second reason, his, not yours, his. You're not even mentioned in here. It's like you don't even exist as a victim. The second reason, the defendant will likely raise a stand your ground or self-defense claim, given the facts and circumstances of this case, including the statements given by the victims and the defendant. That claim is likely going to be successful.
How? Like, I don't even know. When you saw, what were your thoughts on this when you saw this, Patty?
My biggest focus was on that very first reason, because it says it makes it very clear that they're only seeing a victim as the man that was in the vehicle, and his cooperation, and I had done everything they asked of me. I mean,
Right.
beyond. They wanted, I felt like originally they just thought that, there's no way these people are going to come back down here. And so if we tell them they have to, and they don't, then we can just, sweep this off. So to get that after I went forward and flew back down there and met with them and lived through, that experience, to get this, the stand your ground, it really doesn't make sense because, there's a lot of different variables there, and we had no reason to engage with him. None at all. But the first one of saying about his testimony, that hit me harder than anything.
It's awful.
Well, and when you go through the police report, it notes something. It says victim one, for him, noting that there are multiple victims involved. So, going through this, like you said, it makes it like there is only one victim, and it didn't matter what you said or what you did. That's terrible. By the way, with all of this stuff, not trying to pry or anything. I'm just curious. Have you been able to get help or anything? Have you been able to talk to a professional or anyone like that?
So I know that there's in there somewhere where I had sent some emails to the victim's advocate. I really barely got any response from anybody, especially not about that big one that I CC'd all of them. Dan Owens, Michelle Barr, Ariel Screws, all of them in that, and none of them responded to that. But I also sent that to Michelle Barr. I said, I am going to seek counseling. And I went to my primary, and I even said that to her, that my primary had felt that, she was going to refer me to counseling. And I have not done that yet. She was trying to find somebody, because small town, there's not many people around here for that. And that is what I'm waiting on.
And by the way, that's another thing that the state is required to pay for. They're required to pay for victims counseling. They have an entire thing, like a victim center and everything, where they're supposed to set you up with a counselor, and the state pays for it. This is something Patty has not received any of her victims' rights in Florida that she was entitled to. Not one. They didn't do one thing that's on the list of victims' rights for her. Nothing.
That's awful. If you find that you're waiting too long, if you need any assistance, let me know. Again, outside of all of this, not some live thing. I'm just offering if you need
No.
support, if you need to get in touch with some, I'm talking about like a therapist or something like that.
Right.
And then we'll make sure that you get somebody. Well, for sure.
The best thing between you and Megan, and even, like some of the others, Deanna especially, George, Travis, all of them, they've been supportive as, asking me how I am and things. But the biggest thing, and I have to attribute to the two of you and your subscribers, that seeing how people are in that and watching them, make their comments, and so much love. We support you, we love you, we're so sorry for you, Patty. We're that probably does more for me than anything else.
I'm glad. With the negatives,
Mhm.
I realize this is hard sometimes, but don't pay any attention to them. They don't matter
I don't.
ultimately.
No.
But I mean, there are a lot of people that have your back in this, and they want you to be okay. I mean, ultimately, at the end of the day, your life is not social media drama. Your life, you went through a
Mm-mm.
terrible, traumatic situation, and people do want you to be okay.
Yeah, I've found that I'm really glad that I've started, sharing my voice and talking about it, because it was wrong. It's just plain and simple. Social media aside, just like I said in that email, this case needs to be taken for what it is, aside from social media. And that's did not happen.
I'm so frustrated. Sometimes I get so frustrated seeing this stuff that I feel like I'm at a loss for words. I cannot imagine living it and experiencing it, and just being so casually dismissed despite everything you've gone through.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you feel like we're with this? I think we've covered what's there. Do you feel like we're missing anything that needs to be brought up in this as well? Or?
Not that I can think of. I mean, I feel so much good love and support, and I think I've said everything that's happened, and good, bad, and I don't mind the bad things being said, because I know, well, just like I've shown the proof that I have nothing to hide, nothing. And I just want my privacy respected as much as possible, because I am a foster parent and they're already in a vulnerable situation, and I want my privacy respected as possible. And I don't mind, like, that's why I use Dad's channel as I kind of comment, because he's got broader shoulders than I do, and he's very protective. So if they wanted to say something, they needed to ask something, that's why he's like, go ahead, make that available. But I just want to be kind of left alone with the ugly, if they can. If they have to talk about it, it's not going to break me.
And also, chat, keep in mind that it doesn't help when somebody is under assault by hate channels to let them know. It's actually better to not let them know. It's better to not tell her. If you want to tell somebody about what's going on, you tell me or you tell Tug, but don't reach out to Patty and tell her what's being said about her. It's not helpful.
Right.
It actually makes it really difficult when you're trying to ignore that kind of stuff. You don't need people bringing it to your attention.
That's
Just
true.
putting that
And
out there.
because I don't watch them, I don't, I mean, I've heard you guys talk about a flea or something, and I that tells me nothing.
Right.
Well, that's good.
Right.
That's the way it should
That's
be.
good. That's the way it
Honestly.
should be. You don't need to know.
Yes. Yeah. you
And
don't.
that's okay.
Yeah. Well, I
So,
appreciate you. With
thanks.
this again, I'm gonna definitely still hype that channel. I'm gonna hype Tackle Box. I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna do it for a positive thing. It's just like
Yes.
Well, when talking about like Travis, for example, you went down there with, you saw a positive in this story. You all went down there, to engage that. That's how this started, and
Right.
that positive, you have a positive there with, your dad's channel, everything you're trying to do, and yeah, when I
And
bring it
that's
up,
it. Dad's he's that good person. Like, to be a bonus dad, if you look up like the definition of a bonus dad, this is that man. And he does deserve it. And I'm not trying to hype him up on that. And I love that you do, because it's kind of funny the way that you did it. But it's true. He does deserve it. And I hope it for him. We don't want him to go back to the coal mine. He's been in a coal mine his whole life. And us girls and his wife and his daughters and grandson, we don't want that. And he's good at this stuff, guys. This airbrushing stuff. And you're one of your fans. I do need to address that. One of your fans had, I shouldn't say fans because that's what Wes says. I don't even know why I said that, but subscribers.
yeah, stick print.
Yes, they sent a airbrush through Wes because they didn't know anything about us, but through Wes. So they sent that Harder and Steinbeck airbrush. Dad got that, and he is deserving of that. And that is his favorite airbrush of all of his airbrushes. And he truly is one of those good people. He deserved that.
Well, I'm gonna. I
Check
want
it
to
out,
reach
Tug.
out and.
I've got a video of him airbrushing. It's cool. It's really cool.
Yeah, see,
Guys,
I want to reach
he's-
out and get him to do that umbrella guy tackle. I think that'd be crazy.
Oh,
and
that would be
awesome.
so fun.
Yeah, man. I'll contract him to do one. I think that'd be cool.
he's so silly. He's got to pretend like, some of the things you see on there are so silly. Is it okay to ask you to do the heroine? It's only like 5 or 6 seconds since you did put him on there.
Yeah.
That's the epitome of this man, is that little video that I did when he came down. And now that we have addressed it, the purpose of that video and me saying my hero is because of all of this stuff that went on in Levy County.
Let's see. I'm looking for it.
It's a short way back.
Oh, it's a short. Okay.
Yeah, you gotta go short, yeah.
I'm looking for it. Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe, folks. And if you like the show, make sure you send super chats, because Tug always gets demonetized just like me, mostly. So
Yeah, it's amazing. I mean, these are important stuff. Ultimately,
Yes.
that doesn't matter either. These are important topics that we cover. These shouldn't be ignored just because, the platform is like, oh, those are sensitive. Yes, they're sensitive. That's why they matter. Ultimately, you deserve justice. I mean, yeah.
I believe I do.
Yeah. Well, I think a lot of people believe you do. When I saw that, I was so frustrated seeing that. And again, not because of the person involved or any social media drama, but, if I think about myself, I have 2 little girls. If we were in this situation, I would want them to have justice for sure.
Right.
I don't know where it is, Patty. I'm having trouble finding it.
Oh, that's okay. It was really close. It said my hero at the bottom, and I was at the airport waiting to get him, but that's okay.
I see Megan scrolling them, actually. Here, I'm going to pull it up. You can point it out.
Yeah, just pull it up and maybe she can point it out. So I have it sorted by oldest so that we can, because you said it was one of the older ones.
Yeah, keep going up. He's so silly.
Oh, there
right
it is.
There, my hero.
No, okay, there it is. Like, wait.
Yeah.
I need to turn. Oh no! What happened?
What have you done?
Back.
Oh, you hit the hashtag.
We're gonna get copyright.
But
That's awesome, though. Like the description of what happened.
I didn't talk about it, Tug. I didn't say that what it was about. It was just that that was my hero. He flew from Illinois on a few days' notice just to go to that police station because I was scared because John Cook was in that jail. So
Well, I have to
yeah,
say that is the definition of a hero right there, for real.
I
It is,
agree.
he didn't have to do anything. He was there for support. That's beautiful. All right. Hey, Megan, do you
Yeah.
have anything you want to add to
No.
or note?
No, I'm just happy that Patty was able to join us tonight.
Yeah,
Thanks, guys.
Yeah, no problem. I'm gonna hit super chats. Patty, you're welcome to stay, but yeah, I mean, I'm sure like everyone has a life too. So, you know,
It's time to get the kids
yeah,
into bed.
I
Thank
understand
you
that. Well,
guys
hey,
so much, though.
no problem. If you need anything too, seriously, reach out anytime. Just whatever you need, just hit me up.
All right. Thanks
Okay,
so much.
no problem.
Good
You have a
night,
good one.
Patty.
Okay. Night.
Okay, there she is. And Megan, you can chill or you can.
I'll stick around.
Okay. Yeah, there was something. I'm going to bring this up tomorrow because this has been brought up. I don't want to go through it tonight, but we will definitely go through it. The federal case. Yeah, that motion to dismiss, by the way, this is big news. This will be brought up. It was denied. There is actually a, what was it, 16-page report on that?
16-page order. A little bit
Yeah.
unusual to have such a thorough motion or order to deny. I read the whole thing today. It is pretty interesting.
Yes, it's very fascinating stuff. You know how they were told, oh, they're going to be able to knock this out of the park right away. It's going to be over and done with. Yeah, no. It goes forward. So, motion to dismiss was denied. We will read that tomorrow. I figure you may cover that tomorrow too.
Yeah, I might.
But,
I might cover
yeah.
it tomorrow too. I did I don't know if you know this, but Aiden Carney had a hearing today. I covered that earlier. Turtle Boy
I
had
did not. I've been out
It
of
was
the loop.
crazy. It was crazy. Not one TV station covered it live. Which is unbelievable because, they all, Court TV, Law and Crime, they all covered every single hearing he had. But now it appears that they're trying to bury it. And nobody carried it live. And so we had to get the Zoom feed. It was a whole nightmare. And then they did almost the entire hearing at sidebar so nobody could hear it.
Oh, no.
Oh, yeah. We sat for an hour and a half while they sat and argued on sidebar.
Oh, no. Mm-hmm. That is such a mess. I saw chat mentioning that people that were attached to that mess had been reaching out to people that were involved in this stuff and trying to...
I wouldn't be surprised.
Oh,
These are all a similar group of people who are stalking and, harassing people. Turtle Boy's got his own harassers and, harassers tend to join up together. And it's a really terrible thing.
This whole situation is insane. I mean,
It's insane.
I feel like I am really drowning in the content, but unfortunately, like we've said, we talked to Patty right there, and these are real people too.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want anybody to lose perspective on that. There is a reason that this stuff needs to remain in people's minds because, in this day and age, we live in one-off, we live in this society where people, they one-off stories. And these are not one-off situations. These situations, they've made it bigger and bigger and bigger. But ultimately, poor Jeremy, man. Poor George. All the other, how many people have to, poor Patty. How many people have to have a horrible situation before people wake up and realize how out of control this is?
And for anybody who's out there still criticizing Jeremy or George for talking about this online, if they didn't, do you think it would be better? Do you think that the county sheriff would take it seriously or the DA would have taken any of this seriously then if they hadn't? Because I doubt they would have. I don't think it would be any better. These people have proven that they do not want to help Jeremy. They will not help. They won't even help Patty. This is a. I don't think it would have been any better for them to have kept quiet about it. I really don't. Yeah, they would just be suffering in silence, says the chat. Absolutely.
Yeah, it wouldn't have gone away. This stuff. And again, you've seen how the litigation moves. If they wouldn't have also had video, if they wouldn't have gone in, let's look at the whole Lloyd situation right now. And there was quite a bit. We had two videos that we've seen come up, plus the police. You know, we had the body cam recordings that came up with that. But also, I mean, there's another video that's never been released as well. But if they didn't record all of that stuff, if it wasn't out there for people to see, all you would have is the narrative. And that narrative is nothing like what you see.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. The videos make all the difference. They
have. And, you know, making sure that people see that. That is the epitome of newsworthiness. You know, it is 100%. All right, let's see these super chats here. Fallen Hero, thank you for kicking it off there. $2 super sticker there. Thank you always, too. I appreciate you. Rhea Rye, thank you for the 2 there. I love Megan banning Bubbles live this morning. Also,
I did.
Bubbles got banned? Oh.
He did. He was in my chat again, being harassing and stalkerish, and I finally banned him from the channel because
After he was talking
he doesn't
about other
stop.
People being cyber stalkers and stuff,
He won't
still
stop,
going?
and I've told him multiple times to leave me alone, and he will not stop. He is the definition of stalking at this point. If I wanted to, I could probably go and get an order of harassment in New York against him. I'm keeping it open for possibility because at this point it's getting a bit much.
It's just strange. It's like, okay, well, Bubbles, you can go talk about this wherever because apparently that's what you do. And people, although I find that to be weird too when someone's lawyer, but yeah, when people have been, leave me alone. Why are you still bothering me?
Mm-hmm.
You and Veteran Nation. It's funny too, like all the stuff that was, you know, pointed at like you and Veteran Nation. Like myself, I was like, I'll just mock that shit live. And you know what? I didn't get anything else. It says something in that.
It's terrible.
George, thanks for the 2 there. Patty Tug and Megan. I like that better. Megan. Megan. Love you guys. Yeah, appreciate you.
Love you too.
Yeah. Bonnie, thanks for the 5. That was on the Did You See Bruce Was Denied a New Motion Federal Court. Yeah, the federal court one. Like I said, tomorrow definitely we'll talk about that one and go over everything. I'm sure Jeremy will probably drop a video on it too. There will probably be some funny reaction. That'll be worth talking about as well. Oh man, craziness. Suzanne, thank you for the 5 gifted memberships too. Thank you very much for that. Also, Mimi T-Boy, thank you for the 5. Noted also, Bruce Motion's federal court was denied. That is a long, by the way, when people are watching everything play out in court, remember, this stuff moves at the pace of quote-unquote justice, and it is a very slow, money-consuming pace. You know, it moves at a snail's pace, but it clocks money. It's like I saw a skit one day where I think it was a Simpsons episode actually. This mob guy calls in a lawyer, and the lawyer is talking like this, but he has a meter in front of him, and it's just rolling up. And the mob guy's like, "Hey, will you talk faster?" And he's like, "I am talking faster." That's what it reminds me.
That was literally the prosecutor in the Turtle Boy hearing today. We were dying. The guy was like, I guess he's like older than dirt, and he talked like this. It was awful.
Stick Print, asked about the comic too. Thanks for the 10 there. Rhea Rye asked if I could track the comics coming to us. The fulfillment is handled by Critical Blast. Now, with noting that, you know, sounds company, right? They've grown, but we're talking about one person really mailing. They have 2 people that help them sort orders, and there are 5,000 or 6,000 orders. So people have asked about tracking numbers. I will note that and see if there's something they can do, but this is the first comic that we haven't mailed ourselves, you know, and it's actually delivering faster. Otherwise, you know, it you talk about a slow pace there. But you had this image of Baby Umbrella Girl with a pile of envelopes and comics tasked to get them sent out.
Oh, it's funny. And a
No, they were funny.
never-ending supply of cotton candy next to her.
Well, when we've done comics before, they have, they've drawn on the on the envelopes and stuff when we sent them out, and they were cute,
That's cute.
they would do that, but oh Lord, like doing it in your own home that is an insane.
I bet that's overwhelming.
thing. Ugh. Sandy, thank you for the gifted membership too. I appreciate that. Thank you. Love the gifted memberships there. Thank you. AJ's World, what's up? Thanks for the 2. Prayers for my son and his girlfriend in Panama City. Yes, I know that there are so many people that are right now being impacted by this hurricane rolling in. And I mean, we're even getting weather here in Tennessee. Like right now, I've been afraid that we would get knocked offline because, we've had storms rolling in. And look how far away we are. So all of you stay safe out there for sure. And yes, prayers and love with you. That's
Yeah, it's
terrible.
scary out there. While we were on the air, I heard somebody in the chat say that it was hitting Otter Creek right at that moment.
Yeah. There was
and
actually there was an order to evacuate like mobile residences and everything too.
Well,
So,
I hope that Lynette and John and the child are safe and that they got
Yes.
out of there if they needed to. And I don't want anything bad to happen to them. I want them to
No.
go on with their lives and leave Jeremy alone. Just move,
yeah, 100%.
move on.
I hope, I wish no ill will toward anyone. I hope everybody is safe, for 100%. Cunning Linguist, thanks for the 2. Megan, you need an AOL goodbye on your sounds.
I do. That would be hilarious. Goodbye.
That's funny. Like, I noticed people's names. I noticed, hilarious. I was like, haha. And
I love Cunning Linguist. I love that name. It's so funny.
I do too. I like that. I was thinking earlier when I was talking about Travis, I said travesty, and I was like, haha, that's funny. I'm going to work that into the next thing that he pulls up. Oh my gosh, there's another travesty. Kim, thanks for the 5 there. Patty, we're sending hugs, love, and support from around the planet. Love from Australia. Yeah, that's what she needs. She does not
Yeah.
need, like Megan said, she doesn't need reminders of the nastiness. We brought it up in interview because she wanted to be able to address this stuff. She doesn't want to, she's not trying to hide anything. She just, honestly, none of that stuff was, it wasn't relevant. I mean,
Right. It wasn't. And she just doesn't need to be like shown every single stupid thing. I mean, you guys can send that to me. That's fine. I'll look at it.
Oh,
and
yeah.
but it's really hard when you're under assault like that. Well, she's been through enough, She's been through enough. It's better not to look.
yeah, that's, I mean, I heard, like, when she first started talking about it, you could hear emotion come up, in the very beginning. And, oh, man, that's the reminder of that human element. Like I said, I don't want anybody to lose that. Patricia, thanks for the 20 there. My daughter had an airbrush tattoo business. It's
Cool.
Yeah. And by the way, just to give love too, we're talking about stick print paint. They're the ones that sent that over. They sent a airbrush over here too. We've been playing with it.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah. I got my arm airbrushed while we were airbrushing something else. I was like, oh, nice. Very colorful tattoo.
That is
My
one thing
nails.
I never learned how to do. I had an art teacher who really liked to use airbrush, and she was an incredible painter. She was a Greek artist, and she had done the entire Greek Orthodox church in our neighborhood. She had painted the ceiling and everything. That's how good she was. And I would watch her use that airbrush, and oh my gosh, that was the one medium I never learned how to do. I did, painting, watercolors and acrylics and oils, but I never did that airbrush, and it does look like fun.
Yeah, I was looking for something. My daughter loves creating stuff. The oldest, especially, she does like clay and everything else. She's actually very good at it. I know everybody says kids are great at stuff, but no, she actually was very, very good at it. The first time we got some clay, she made some Invader Zim, like little people. It was really cool. Oh, I noticed that you loved my spider picture I put up too.
Oh my God. You've got to stop terrorizing me with those things.
Yeah, look
Every
at this,
time
by
I
the
open
way.
up Twitter, it's like, don't you pull that up.
Look at
Don't
that,
do it.
man.
Don't do it. Ah,
Oh, look at that.
no.
Man. Don't you want to pet it? Don't you love it?
Burn it to the ground. No.
That's our giant. It's a purple tree spider. What's crazy is it molted and it came
Now I
out
have
and
the
it
shivers. Now I'm
it
shaking
looked like
in my
it
chair.
doubled in size. I was like, good Lord, that thing is monstrous now.
Thank God you weren't talking about spiders last night on your show, because I fell asleep listening to it. And I had a dream, and this is so funny. I don't dream very often, but the last couple nights I've had dreams that I remembered. And this one is wild. I had a dream because I was sleeping listening to Tug. I had a dream that there were two Tugs, and one had an umbrella face, and one had an actual face, but it wasn't Tug. It was just a guy he hired to be Tug with a face. And we were sitting and eating dinner, and I'm across the table from the hired Tug with a face, and you were sitting to my left, and you were both wearing that same outfit, not in the icon you have now, but the one with the other hat, the brown hat. She put that one on. And instead of the
This
scarf, no, not that one, the other one, the one with the chains around the scarf and the brown. No, not that one. Not that one, the one you use all the time. What the heck?
Oh, that sexy one.
No, not no. If you put the pickle up,
that
I
one?
swear to God.
Oh, that
It's
one.
the one
Oh,
where you're
this
holding-
one. This is the one you're
No,
talking
not Tug's tits. Oh, that would have been funny. That would have been so
Yeah, well,
funny
I-
if
well,
the
why
other
did you
Tug
want to-
across from me was the had tits hanging out. No,
Oh, this one, where I was.
no,
signing for the ring.
stop. No, it's the one where you're holding the money and the money is raining. Would you put the right
I don't
one
even
up?
think that. I don't know if this one's up here. Actually, to be honest,
Are
I'm
you
messing with you.
serious?
I don't think it's up. Yeah, I don't even think.
All right.
It's
Well,
up here.
in this one, he's got like a scarf around his neck, but in my dream, it was a lace cravat. I kid you not. Lace. You were both wearing matching twinsy outfits with the brown fedora and these lace cravats, and we were eating dinner, and we were just cackling, laughing. We were just laughing. So I was laughing. And then you sent the fake Tug outside to do some kind of meet and greet with people. And I was like, but Tug, you can't send fake Tug out. You were like, yes, I can.
How would anyone know?
Because he had a face and it wasn't yours.
You know, I thought it was. It would have been funny when I went to one convention. I actually thought about having somebody else dress up like me for a while.
See?
then-
What is going on? How did I know this?
I thought
So
that would have been funny. You know, I did think about that though. I thought it'd be funny, like they could go and introduce themselves, and then like an hour or two later, I arrive and we get in an argument. No, I'm the real umbrella guy. No. I thought that would.
And then I woke up. When I woke up, you were still on the air because you did like a 4-hour stream that night.
I know, that was a monstrous stream. Woo, that was.
So when I woke up, you were still talking in my ears, and I was like, "Holy crap!" I just had the craziest dream with two Tugs. Oh my God, it was funny. It was.
That's
I woke
hilarious.
up laughing. Like, oh, it was great.
That's
It would make a
funny.
good that would make a good comic book with like evil twin Tug. It'd be
I
funny.
can't wait to show people our next idea. I'm not going to say anything about it yet for our comic book, but my oldest daughter had this amazing idea. It's hilarious. I've mentioned it to Megan, but I'm not going to mention it live yet until later. But it's going to be so much fun. I can't wait. Let's see. George. What's up, George? Thank you for the $5 super sticker as well. Thank you very much there. And thank you all for being here, too. I know it's been a crazy day. Like, even with all the weather and insanity, still 1,600 people managed to get out and watch stuff. So that says a lot, considering the power problems and everything else popping up. I was very impressed. Thank you all. Rebel Bird, thanks for the 20 there. Thanks for giving Patty's story a voice. I appreciate Megan, man. You did a lot of work making sure that got out there and got out there intact.
Yeah, well, I don't like being forced into these things, but I felt bad for Patty being in that situation where she had to say something. And, this is all because Wes put her in a bad situation when he didn't follow through with what he was going to do. And then he put a target on her,
That made me
so
mad too. I'm telling you, like, because Patty brought it up really well in one of those text exchanges. She said, people are doing this because they want justice. They want to see justice, and thankfully, Patty's story in that didn't detract. It actually showcased that, yes, there were victims involved, and she did all of this. In fact, I thought it added to it, because despite all of that insanity, on her own dime, despite being afraid, she went out and she did this anyway. I thought that was powerful. And I also like that you threw in those statistics about Levy County, because those were just, oh God.
mind-blowing. Oh,
Yeah.
wait till you see this. I'm going to send you the link for the YouTube documentary we found that somebody found De Thomasis in. It's all the same shit. It's the same problems, like even way back then. And this was like back in the, 80s, 90s. And De Thomasis, by the way, has this extremely thick black beard. It's crazy.
I'm not even surprised by that, to be honest. That doesn't even surprise me. Oh. But it is crazy how many times, like, Levy County and these same people have been called out for their lack of support for victims. I mean, they are anything but. It's gross. Suzanne, thanks for the 5 there. Wonder how much that denial costs Lynette. How much money?
The
Nothing.
lawyer is saying that he did it for free. And maybe that's true, because, I think what he's getting out of it is this notoriety, and he thinks that he's going to get famous and get more attention, etc., from doing it. So it's possible that it didn't cost her anything, which is also sort of dangerous, because, it doesn't give her a motivation to stop.
Yes. I mean, that's one of the financial component usually calms people down. But when you have somebody that's in there that, again, just empowers that, yeah, where does it stop? Well, it doesn't stop anytime soon. That's for sure. And, there have been other people that, we look at the federal case that's going on. And remember, we have 3 cases going on. And 2 of them are absolutely, in my opinion, bunk. You've got the thumbnail and the RV. Those are bunk cases.
Mm-hmm.
BK? 5. Levy County needs investigated by the Attorney General. At very least, so sorry, Patty. Praying for your healing from all that trauma. Yes, indeed. Yeah, you know what though? The investigation would mean F all. I mean, they've been exposed in the past. You read through the articles that have been put out there. Again, they've been exposed in documentaries. And the worst thing about this is it's not just the county. It's the same people, and they've been doing this for decades. Oh, so frustrating.
Crazy.
AJ World, thanks for the 2 there. I'm in Illinois, not far from Patty. Let's do lunch. We'll see. Actually, I want Bud's tackle box. Again, I want that umbrella guy. I'll never fish with it, because you know what'll happen? I'll cast it, I'll get caught in a tree, and I'll lose it first cast. I do kind of want to make 2, because I would like to see if I could actually catch something with that umbrella guy lure. That would be hilarious.
That would be so cool. That would be so cool.
But I can see me now, like, getting it hung in a tree and losing it. Or something. Like, no. Be like, Tug, why do you have a 100-pound test line on there? Aren't you supposed to, like, do it with, like, 5-pound test? I'll be like, I ain't losing that. I'm going to tie it to, like, an anchor line. I ain't losing it. Michelle, thanks for the 5 there, Tug. I'm in Dayton. Hey, I lived in there one time. And we might not have electric tomorrow because of the tropical storm weather. You stay safe. You all too. I mean, I know that landscape pretty well out there. And if you're not inside of that big mountain ring, essentially you get hit really hard out there. So you stay safe for sure. Sherry and a TARDIS. Thanks for the 2. I like that, by the way. Show the face of a jumping spider. They're so cute. Yeah, I like jumping spiders. They don't live long, though, unfortunately. They only have in captivity, they live about
Spider
6
talk.
months.
Thank God you weren't talking about spider talk while I was sleeping and dreaming, because that would have been hell.
I'm going to start sending random pictures of the...
Oh, note!
Yeah. You know what's funny is that big one right there, like, that's not even, like, in the top 5 large spiders in the house. Like, that's the funny thing. Yeah. Not to mention the centipede. Oh, man, I got a centipede as long as my forearm, you know?
Oh.
Oh, yeah. When it gets mad, it stands up on
Gross.
its back and hunches and runs around. It's really weird. I'll send you a video, Megan. You'll love it. Cunning linguist. Thanks for the video. I am an necrophilia
Necrophobiac?
That sounds it sounds like you're afraid of some really horrible things.
Yes.
Read that. SF, thanks for the video. Dreaming of 2 tugs. Phrasing. Yeah, if you were to say that random, I keep saying if somebody were to go through my computer, I have files on the front of it that say things like tug pics, and that doesn't sound very good. If a random person,
I know it doesn't. It didn't sound good either when I said 2 tugs either.
yeah, that's
Dang it. You know, your name is problematic.
no, you know, I'm not the one that went with. I didn't even think about that being TUG. Just somebody brought it up. They used to, when we talk about comic books, they'd be like, "Oh man, you hyping that? You giving it the old tug plug?" And I was like, "Oh,
Ew.
wow, that doesn't sound good." Miss Grandma, thanks for the 3 months there. Thank you. Remember 3 months. Also, Laura, thank you for 22 months. Man, rolling up on 2 years from that. Thank you. And thank you for the gifted membership as well. Now, with that, I think we are at our close tonight. Tomorrow, like I said, I plan on going through that document because it is a beautiful one. And I want to say, too, that people need to subscribe to Megan Fox, her channel, and also meganfox.locals.com.
Thank you.
Yes, indeed. And I don't know, like, we'll take it from there. There's one other one. Puzzler. I love that name, too. Thanks for that. So, Levy County needs an enema. Indeed. I think that's a good place to leave this one, you know, flush it all out, right? All right. But anyway, I appreciate you folks. Ugh, gross. What an image. And we will see you.
Bye.